today we will be continuing four more ways in which we can take care of our energy body. And if you look at the map of self-care logo that we have right up there on the side, you will realize that we are looking at a foundation of self-love, self-acceptance, followed by self-awareness, and then the different areas in which we can provide that self-care to our body, to our mind, to our emotions, to our energy body, and to our spiritual self as well. So when it comes to our energy body, last week we looked at different systems that form part of the energy body. We looked at the chakras, the meridians, the nadis, the aura, the Celtic weave, different systems of identifying the energy and the components of that energy body. And each of these systems has their own unique aspects, unique features, and different ways in which we can interact with them. But overall, the needs that we discussed in the last week are unilaterally the same across all the different energy systems. So let's do a very quick recap of the energy body and the four needs that we talked about last week. That's the logo of the map of self-care, and we are looking at energetic needs, the needs of our energetic body. And you'll realize that self-love and acceptance is the base. Just as with our physical body, the understanding is there now that we accept our body just as it is. The image, the body image that we are looking at, we accept it just as it is instead of shaming ourselves for what we may think is not perfect within us. And similarly with our energy body as well, we accept our energy body, our energy just as it is. And that acceptance of ourselves in the energetic aspect, just as it is, that's what allows us to make changes as and when it is needed. And most of us, we feel that, oh, I know nothing about energy, I don't believe in energy, or I don't have the ability to work with my own energy. And the only difference that I know of between maybe an energy worker and another person who's not an energy worker is the level of awareness that we have. So if a person is working with energies over a period of time, that self-awareness that we have, this bubble there, that has expanded, and so they are in a better situation, better place to understand, oh, energy is stagnant here, or energy is moving, it's shifting. Apart from that difference of awareness, each one of us is equally equipped, equally prepared to work with energies. So that is where understanding our energy body and providing ways in which we can support our energy body becomes important. This is the one part of the pizza slice we are discussing last week and today. And the very first one we talked about last week is this need of our energy body to be in constant flow. Whether we are looking at prana, whether we are looking at chi, or whether we are looking at any other names that we want to give this subtle life force, this life force needs to move and it needs to be in constant flow. And that's the first need that we have. The second one is that we need to be able to balance our polarities through this flow. And this balance is a dynamic balance. It's not a static balance because the energy is constantly moving. This balance will always be a dynamic one. So I find balance today maybe between yin and yang. and then later it shifts to a completely yin situation. And once it is at that stage, then the body shifts to a completely, starts shifting towards yang, and then stays there. So you can think about it as the waning and the waxing moon as well. The moon is always in motion, it's always moving, at least the visible part of it. So, similarly, the balance that we are doing is always a dynamic balance. And the different energies are taking turns to flow and be in optimum way, flowing in optimum way and influencing us. So again, even if you look at Ayurveda, we can have the polarities as Vata, Pitta, Kapha in Ayurveda. In TCM, it is Yang and Yin. Or if you are looking at five elements, we have the Chinese, traditional Chinese way of looking at five elements, which is water, wood, fire, earth, metal. Otherwise, if you're looking at the Indian system, the Ayurvedic system of the five elements, then it is earth, water, fire, air, and space. So, depends on any of these. When we are looking at it, the balance is always not about staying in one area, but about balancing between the five elements, or the yin and yang, or vata, pitta, kapha. So, that was the second need that we had within our body. And the third one is to ensure that we are grounded. And in grounding, there are two aspects to this grounding. We have the cosmic energy flowing from the top of our head down to our feet. And grounding in that respect is any excess energy that is within us that we are picking up can be discharged safely to the ground. So, that is one way of grounding ourselves. Even within our physical body, if electrical system, deep thinking, or worrying or anxiety, any of those things that are generating a lot of electricity within us, then grounding is about discharging that excess electricity within us. So that is one way of grounding. The other aspect of grounding, and this I didn't talk about last week, the other aspect of grounding is not only is the cosmic energy coming into us from the head, but also the earth energy is coming to us through the feet. So, ensuring that our feet are able to draw in and pick up the earth energy and help that move up through our body is also part of grounding. And in that case, our feet, which are like sensors, we need to ensure that the feet are in a position where they can draw in the earth's energy. And that's why when last week I talked about spooning as a way of spooning the soles of our feet, as a way of ensuring that the soles of our feet are able to draw in the earth's energy. So that's our third need, grounding. The fourth way need is to look at gratitude and use that to repattern our energy. So the question we may ask is, okay, I understand gratitude is good for me. I understand I need to work with my energy, but why is that a need? And the need, the way I see it, is this, that energy flows in certain habits, in certain patterns. And by using gratitude, which is of the highest frequency, we are able to shift our energy to something that's more beneficial to us. And by using a consistent practice of gratitude, we are able to move the energy on a regular basis. And someone had posted a comment on my Instagram asking, I understand gratitude is important. How would one go about practicing gratitude when we are going through a difficult time? And that's a very, very good observation, very important observation. How does one practice gratitude when we are going through a challenging time in our life? The thing that comes to my mind is that gratitude is a muscle. It's a feeling, it's a habit, and it's also a muscle. And initially, we feel we can be grateful only in the good times, and that's fine. So, when we have a regular practice of gratitude, what that is doing is that is building the gratitude muscle. So, maybe ending the day or beginning the day, or when something nice happens, we spend a minute or two reflecting and appreciating that some beautiful experience that we had. That tells our energy, oh, this person is being grateful, this person is being appreciative. And so the energy starts flowing in a way that it can use that gratitude in a very positive manner. And over time, that practice of being grateful when we are in a good times, when things are going well for us, that practice of gratitude becomes much more easy, much more comfortable, because we are building the muscle of gratitude. And so when the time happens that we are facing a challenge, just a question, what can I be grateful about in this difficult moment? Or what can I appreciate in this moment? And it may just be my ability to breathe, or my ability to enjoy this meal, or just having the comfort of people around me. It could be anything. So finding that one thing to be grateful gives us the strength to face the challenges in the remaining times of the day, especially when we are going through a difficult time. And over time, that muscle can develop so well that we are able to lift heavier weights of challenges through this power of gratitude. So, that is one way in which we can start working with our energies using gratitude. And when we feel gratitude in our hearts, it has a direct impact, not just on our radiant circuits, but also on all energy systems of the body. And that actually helps to shift us into a state of coherence. So, this is what we looked at last week in terms of needs of our energy body. Today, let's look at something different, using intention and attention to move prana or chi. That's something that will come in very handy. Why is this a need? Why do I want to move chi or prana? I mean, it's already moving, it's already flowing. Why do I want to move my chi or prana or energy in the body? We know that when we eat something regularly, there's always something good that the body can retain, and something, no matter how delicious the meal, how nutritious the meal, there is something that the body needs to discard. And similarly with energy, there's always, through that flow, there is always something that can be adjusted or shifted or released so that we can feel more comfortable. And like I said in the beginning, all of us have the ability to move prana or chi. What is different between people is the awareness and maybe the confidence level. Apart from that, the innate ability to move prana or chi exists with all of us. So, what has this got to do with intention and attention? So, the way we can move energy is through this combination of intention and attention. And the example that comes to my mind is this. I'm sure most of you have watched matches in a sports stadium, whether it is a cricket match or a soccer match or a football match. And we would have also watched many of these matches on TV. If we actually spend some time understanding how does that action on the field come to us through the work of camera people, cameramen or women, how does that come? It is through, it's a good example of intention and attention. So, firstly, it's not just one camera that they have a team of many, many different camera to focus on the match. Secondly, each person then decides this camera is going to be focused on this part of the field, this one is going to be focused on this one is reserved for spectators, maybe this particular stand or that particular stand, and this particular camera is going to be zooming in and looking at the details. This is meant for, so you get the idea. You have the intention of the camera people to decide which part of the action they will be covering. But that intention alone is not enough. Intention is important because otherwise everybody would be doing the same thing. So that intention is important on their part, but that alone is not important because this is action. It keeps changing. You never know what's going to happen. If we knew, then there's no fun in watching that match. So once they have set the intention, then they are going to keep their attention on what they have set as an intention. So if a camera is dedicated to look at the stands, then they are constantly monitoring those stands for something exciting, something interesting. So that's how the intention and the attention are going hand in hand. They are working together so that we get to watch this wonderful relay telecast of a match on our screens. And the same thing applies to moving energy. First, we need to set the intention that I want to move my energy. I want to participate in this movement of energy. Once I have set the intention, I don't need to do anything else other than paying attention. So I pay attention and look for clues, look for ideas, look for things that may be shifting. And this part of attention is something that takes time to build because we are building our self awareness, we are building understanding of how energy shifts. And I think in the Monday call in the group, when I talked about moving energy, when we move energy, we may realize that something is happening, something is shifting by watching for some of these signals that we may encounter. What are those signals? Some people will yawn, some people will hiccup or burp, some people may blink, some people may sigh, others may have tears in their eyes, and they themselves may not know why they are tearing. Some people fart, and some people twitch. So, any one of these can be a signal that energy is shifting. And for others, they may just feel the tightness in that part, especially if you're doing it for pain. They may feel the tightness has reduced, it feels freer, they are able to move better, or they are able to feel lighter. They just feel more relaxed. They don't know why they feel more relaxed. Somebody came and pressed something and they're feeling more relaxed. And the reason is any of these things that could have happened to shift the energy. And what are the tools that we can use to move energy? In the beginning stages, if especially if you are working with acupressure points, we may use any one of these things, either this side or this side, depending on the size. I have all these different shapes and sizes, or I may use crystals. I have a couple of other crystals as well. These are pointed selenite crystals, or and I can use this to press a particular point. So this is my large intestine 4, so I can press this particular point, or I can press in the energy field as well. It's still going to be effective. Or if you have crystals like this, you could just spin it around in the particular area, and that is going to help as well. You can just keep the crystal on the area. That's going to work as well. And Last week I talked about the brush. You can just use the brush to clear stagnation just by gentle patting. Or we could use other means as well. Acupuncturists use needles to move chi or clear the stagnation. Doesn't matter. At whatever tool we use, at the end of the day, the most important tool that we are using is our mind and our intention. So I can trace a meridian this way or the heart meridian this way. And once I'm comfortable with this, once I'm used to this, doing it physically, I can trace it mentally. Nobody needs to know I'm tracing my meridians. I can do it mentally and feel the same amount of benefit. And even more, this works not just in person, somebody is sitting here. It can work even across the oceans, across the internet, on a Zoom call or a phone call, or just no call at all, just putting the intention of moving another person's energies. What that needs, though, is it needs practice, it needs belief, and it needs the confidence that, yes, I can do. Any of these things will work as long as we set an intention and set an attention to move energy. So that is one of the most important needs that we have, is to be confident that I can move my energy. And why is that important is because of the remaining discussion that we are going to have today. So let's look at the next few points. I will just go through quickly the slides and then we will switch back to look at, so using intention and attention. And these are some of the tools. Our hands are brilliant and we don't need to have any other tool. Again, our hands, once you tune in, you can move the energy. To remember ultimately is that even with our hands, it's actually the mind that's primarily responsible for moving the energy. Crystals, brush, any of these things can be used as tools to move the energy. What happens is, and this is where that base of foundation of self-awareness comes in very handy, because as we refine our self-awareness, our ability to use intention and attention gets amplified. So that's the most important part of this whole exercise, is our awareness. So what we will be doing is to look at a couple of tools for our digestive system. Blessing is one, definitely, but we'll be looking at other energetic tools that we can use. And we'll be looking at examples of interacting with the energy around us and tools for happiness. So let me pause this and let's go back to what we can do to help our digestive system. And most of us have, from time to time, issues with our digestive system because we are constantly eating most of the days, and occasionally the body says, no, I'm having some trouble. And at that time, the energy can get stagnated in different parts of the digestive system. So a very simple tool that we can use is a figure eight. Energy moves in figure eights. And this tool of a figure eight is something that we can use in any part of the body for any purpose. It's a universal energy tool. If at the end of this series of lives, there's only one thing you want to take back, it would be that I can support myself with a figure eight. How does that work? So can you see that I'm drawing a figure eight, horizontal figure eight? And I'm drawing a vertical figure eight. So the way I would use this tool is, if I have a part of my body that is, I feel energy is stagnant, maybe it's because of pain, or maybe it feels very tight, I'm feeling very heavy or bloated, whatever the situation is, I take that part of the body, and on the energy field or even on the skin itself, I'm drawing figure eights. Okay, and let me see if I can show you this. Okay, I hope you can hear me. So, if my tummy is very heavy or I'm feeling bloated, all I can do is to draw figure eights here. And after some time, you may start feeling a difference. Today, I was actually planning to skip dinner because I was feeling very heavy after a late lunch. So, this is a good tool for me to show to you that it works. So, a drawing a figure eight or a figure eight this way, vertically as well. Or if my liver is tight, then drawing a figure eight here is a good tool for me. Another tool that I have is to use my hands. We can use our hands for moving energy. So use that on the abdomen area, and then after a meal, this works. This is something I learned after my Reiki course, is to use these hands and then draw circles. And this is actually going to help the body feel lighter and support the body in digesting the food much better. So that is one thing that we can do to support the body, or energy tool. The other way in which I can support myself is using the large intestine 4 point. It's a very, very common point, and it is not just for digestion but for pain anywhere in the body. So the way you can find this point is to hold your thumb and index finger together until you come to the end of the crease there. At that point, just use the other hand to indicate that point and separate it out. That's your large intestine 4. You may feel the dip there. And if you're having pain in any part, your teeth or headache or any of that, you may find that that point is sore. So just holding it in and out. Push yourself to as long as you can and go beyond a little bit of the comfort level. So if I'm not having any discomfort there, but if you are, push through the discomfort for a little bit while and then release. And after some time, you may feel that the soreness here is reduced and your headache or ache in other parts is also relatively reduced. And you can use, this is where these things come in handy. You can use this, or you can use a pencil, the end of the pencil as well, for this as well. So the only caveat I have with the large intestine 4 is if you are pregnant, please don't use this point. Okay. So that is the only caveat I have for this point, because that is something that it is good for constipation. It helps the body to release excess food wastage. But when we are pregnant, we don't want that releasing process activated in any way. So this is the only caveat we have for this point. So apart from that, try any of these tools and see which one resonates with you. Just be curious, and if you feel nothing at all, it's still fine. It will still work. And you can try with the figure eights, any part of the body, and let me know which of these things you are finding it to be useful. So the next need that we have is our energy body interacts with the people's energy around us, with the energy of the spaces around us, with the energy of the plants and the animals around us as well. And this is one of the most beautiful parts of learning about our energy body, is because this is concrete proof for us that we are all interconnected, that we are all one in one way. Plants have their own energy fields, animals have their own energy fields. And the story that I shared when I did the series was the story of the elephant whisperer. He was in Africa and he was responsible for building a reserve. And there were these elephants that were being hunted down, and he offered to take care of these elephants, and they were brought in into the reserves, and there was a matriarch there. And because these elephants at that point, the entire herd was traumatized, he decided they would try and run away from the reserve, and then they would quickly go and find that and then bring them back in, because it was not safe for the elephants to leave the reserve because of the poachers and the hunters that were waiting to get to these elephants. So when these herd of traumatized herd of elephants were trying their best to escape the reserve many times, this person, the elephant whisperer, he came over and spoke to the matriarch of the herd and said, "Please don't go. I will keep you safe. I will leave you alone. We will not disturb you. Please don't go." And somehow that conversation, the energy of that conversation, got through to the elephant, and they stopped running away from the reserve. And once they settled in, they had their own space, and they were very happy in that reserve for many years. And after a few years of this interaction, this elephant whisperer, he had his home built within the reserve, and he passed on. He had a heart attack and he passed on. One day later, two different herds made their way to come and visit him. And they just stayed outside the home for a day as though grieving for him. And after that, they made their own way back. The question then here is, who told the elephants that he passed away? And how did they know where to come and stay and grieve for him, pay their respects to him, actually express their gratitude as well, and then to go back? And when we hear stories like these, that's when we realize that we are all interconnected energetically and in many other ways as well. And when we interact, the energy that we have, or our thoughts, our feelings, which are all have an energetic component, that is presenting itself to the world around us, to the people around us, to the space around us, to the plants and animals in our energy field as well, in our surroundings. And similarly, these spaces, these plants, these animals, and the people around us, they in turn affect us energetically. So, forest bathing is already many studies have been done to say how when we spend a lot of time in forests, amid plants, amid big trees, then our entire nervous system calms down. We are rewired differently, and we are able to come out of difficult periods of even depression or anxiety, panic. We are able to come out of those with through regular forest bathing, and that's because these plants and these trees, their energy field has the ability to calm us down. It's almost like the trees' energy field, especially big trees, has the ability to give us a hug and to calm us down and say, "It's going to be okay. We'll get through this." So that's the power that we have. And when we realize that we are all connected in this way, the need then is to look at how can we support each other? How can we have better interactions with the people around us, with the space around us, with the plants and animals around us as well? And coming to the idea of space around us, if our space is cluttered, that puts forth an energy. which is dissonant energy. And when that happens, chances are we may not feel very good in that space, or we may not be able to focus very well in that environment. And when we are able to do a nice round of spring cleaning and organize ourselves, organize the space, beautify the space, simplify the space, then it affects us energetically as well. So watch out for that interaction between the spaces around us and our own energy field. In turn, our energy, our thoughts, our emotions, that leaves an impact in the energy of the space. So I'm sure when you travel in elevators, for example, you may enter an empty elevator, but you may feel this cologne or perfume. That's because somebody before us walked into the lift with that cologne or with that perfume, and they left the imprint of their perfume or cologne in the lift. Similarly, when we are experiencing certain things emotionally, the energy of that, whether it's happiness or whether it's sadness, the energy of that we leave behind in the spaces that we have gone. And after a period of time, if that space is not sheltered and closed, it also automatically dissipates. But sometimes if it is not, it is closed, and we keep the windows always closed, the doors closed, and we are constantly in a bad mood or an angry mood. When somebody comes in, and even if we are not there, they may pick up that energy of the emotions of the person, habitual emotions of the person who was in that space. So we leave our imprint in many different ways, and we pick up on the imprint of others in many different ways. So the need then is to practice energy hygiene and to be careful of the interactions, and to sometimes be aware that if I'm not feeling good suddenly, it's because I picked up on the energy of some person there, and to then take care of that. So that is about the seventh need that we had of energy interactions. And the last one we looked at was the need of happiness. Why is happiness a need? Again, like gratitude, we are basically happy people at our core. And by focusing on the energy of happiness, we can unveil that deep down happiness which is within us and bring it to the fore and repattern our energy. So I'm going to end this discussion maybe with one or two tools that I can use to shift myself into a happy frame using energy tools. So the first one is a very simple one. The first one is actually to release whatever I'm feeling. So if I'm feeling very overwhelmed or upset or drained, this is a oh my god points. And this is to just put one hand on my forehead this way and another hand behind me, and to just stay there with a couple of deep breaths to first release whatever I'm feeling, which may not be so conducive to me. And once I'm done with that, I then repattern my energy to a more positive one. And so in this one, putting my hands like this, cradling my hands like this on my chin. So I'm not using a table here, but you get the idea. So let me see if I can show you. I'm resting my elbows on my table and just sitting there. I'm activating the energy circuits of happiness. And one way we can intensify this is to put two fingers behind my ears this way, and then to continue it this way, right? We have the triple warmer meridian that goes behind the ears, and the triple warmer meridian gets excited if I'm feeling overwhelmed or if I'm feeling upset about something. So putting these two fingers behind is going to calm the triple warmer down that's behind the ears. And I can just do that by tracing my fingers this way as well. So putting two fingers there and then patterning it is going to shift my energies into a happier frame. And at times when I'm really happy, to lock in that happiness into my energy circuits, sort of like holding on to the energy of that happiness, is to use a happiness tap. And all of these techniques that I'm sharing right now are all something that I learned from Donna Eden's program, which have lots of simple energy tools that anybody can use and practice and help themselves. So this happiness tap is something, is just tapping here after thinking about something positive or something elevating or something happy. Uh, think of that, experience that, and then just tap it in. And by tapping it in, we are activating two different energy systems. One is the bladder meridian that goes this way, is the meridian that deals with fear and overwhelm and anxiety, and we are just calming that down. And the other one is our pineal chakra here, chakra, and we are programming that with the happiness that we felt about some event or some experience that we had. So these are some simple tools that we can use to shift our energy and move it one notch higher to feel happiness and to feel bliss even. So that's all I have to look at the energetic needs of the body. Hope this was useful to you. Next week, we will be looking at the third dimension, which is the emotional dimension, and explore that dimension over 2 different weeks. Thank you for joining me. This is Nirmala Shekhar signing off. Bye bye. Namaste. Do subscribe and hit the bell button for more weekly content on self-care. And if you want even more actionable content on self-care, do join me in the Facebook group for weekly lives, discussions, and more tips.